Everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started with our lesson for the day. All right, so today we are going to represent a proportional relationship by an equation. So thinking back to this, first we're going to need to find our constant of proportionality. So go ahead and take a couple seconds, pause your video, work these out. So looking at our graph here, we can pick our first point. I'm going to pick this point right here just because that has corresponding values on their axis. So I know that y is 10 and x is 2. So k would be equal to 10 over 2. K would be equal to 5. Over here, I'm going to pick my lower values. K is equal to y over x, which would be 100 over 25, which would be the same as 4. So k over here would be equal to 4. So we can calculate the constant of proportionality already. So we're going to use this now to help us write equations. So our equations are going to look like this. We're first going to need to find k. There's going to be our equal sign, and we're going to have our numbers and our variables in it. As soon as we find k, all we're doing is plugging it into the spot where it says y is equal to kx. All right, so first thing we need to do is read our problem. So we have a table, and we need to write an equation that describes the proportional relationship between x and y. So before I do this, the first thing I need to do is find my constant of proportionality. I'm going to do that by picking these points right here. Constant of proportionality is k is equal to y over x, which means k is equal to 15 over 3. Simplifying this down, k is equal to 5. So now I know k is equal to 5. All I'm going to do is take this and plug it in, where it look like this. So y is equal to kx. I'm going to take what I found for k, plug it in right here. Y is equal to 5x. And that would be our equation for this table. Go ahead and pause your video, work on the one on the right. And what you should have is y equals 4x. All right, so our next problem here. This one does not tell us x and y. We're gonna have to figure this out just like when we find constant of proportionality the first time. So we have number of necklaces and the cost in dollars. So I need to figure out what is going to be my independent and dependent variable here. So I see that the number of necklaces is something I can control, just telling me this is my independent variable, which is also my x. That cost will depend on how many I buy. If I buy more, if I buy like a lot of necklaces, I'm going to pay more. If I buy a few necklaces, then I'm going to pay less. So as a result, this cost is depending, which is going to be y. So now I'm going to go find my constant of proportionality. So k is equal to, in this case, 24 over 4. I like picking my smaller points just because those lower numbers are usually easier for us to divide. K is now equal to 6. So I'm going to go plug this in to y equals 6x. I'm going to plug in that where k would be. So y is equal to 6x. However, I'm not done here. I notice right away that c is really y and n is really x. So my next step here is just kind of substitute these. So we'll have y, which is really c, is equal to 6, and x is really going to become n. So the final equation we're going to have here is c is equal to 6n. So our big difference here is we're going to need to figure out what our independent and dependent variables are because it's not telling us what our x and our y is. Once we have that, we need to recognize what the variables correspond with each other are. So we have c goes with y and n goes with x, and then we're going to finally substitute those at the end and get c is equal to 6n. So go ahead and pause your video, and then I want you to work on the one on the right. Remember to label your values of what's going to be x and what's going to be y. That way it's easier for you to go and substitute the values that the question is looking for. All right. What you should have is you should have got y equals 9x, and then substituting your variables in would have been c equals 9b. So now we're going to move over to graphs. We're going to need to calculate the constant of proportionality first, and then we're going to need to use that to write our equation. So I can pick any point I want on this line. It's straight, it goes to the origin, therefore it does have a constant of proportionality. I'm going to go and pick this point right here just because it's lower and has values. I see that y is 10 and x is 2. So if k is equal to y over x, k is going to be equal to 10 over 2, which is equal to 5. So y is equal to 5x. However, this question says, let m represent the money he earns and h represents the hours he works. So m is going to be money and h is going to be hours. So I see hours right here in our x, and then I go and I see money over here on our y. So if money goes with y, I will make y become m is equal to the constant of proportionality of 5, and hours I can see is my x-axis, so m is equal to 5. I did that again, 5h. So the money is equal to 5 times h, which would be our equation here. So go ahead and pause your video. I need you to work on the one on the right. Pick your point. I recommend picking one that has corresponding values if possible. And then make sure you're picking out your variables to substitute again as well. So this one is not done yet. So it's y is equal to 3x. I wanted to go over this one with you guys again. So we need m to represent the money earned. So m is money again, which I can see as y. And then h, once again, is hours, which is here. So what I need to do is substitute the m for the y. We will keep our constant of proportionality of 3, and we're going to substitute h for x. So m here would be equal to 3h. And that would be the final equation we are looking for. All right, so another graph. This one goes all the way through. This one's not asking us to change any variables. It just says to write an equation that represents the proportional relationship shown in the graph. So what we're going to do is pick a point. If I go right here, that has a corresponding y value of 2 and a corresponding x value of 3. So I'm going to do the same thing. K is equal to y over x. I always need to find that constant of proportionality first. Y was 2, x was 3. So k is equal to 2/3. So now typically we could go and divide this, but if I divide this, I'm going to get 6 repeating. After I'm going to get 0.6 repeating, which isn't going to work very well in an equation. So I'm going to leave this as a fraction because fractions are always exact. Where decimals will round, especially when they repeat like that. So all I'm going to do is substitute this in. Y is equal to k. So I'll plug that in for k, 2/3 x. And that is my equation for that. So one thing I did here was I made sure the point I picked had values on it. So let me erase this again, that way I can show you one more time. At 1, 1, there's no point. At 2, 1, there's no point. 2, 2, there's no point. But at 3, 2, there is a point. So if I follow that line all the way up until I'm hitting something on the grid, it's going to help me pick a better point. That way I'm not having to guess or do any sort of extra work to figure out what a point value is. So try and find something like that that has 2 points, or not 2 points, 2 given values if possible. So go ahead and pause your video, and then I'll have you work on the one on the right. And from here, you should have y is equal to 2x. The point that I chose was 1, 2, and that gave me y equals 2x. All right, so our last variation for the day is a word problem. So Ken mows the lawn in the summer and charges the same amount for every lawn he mows. So if he's charging the same amount, that's telling me we have a constant of proportionality. This weekend, he earned $48 for 3 lawns. So I'm going to kind of make a chart here to help me out. So I know he has money, and I know he has lawns. So it's telling me he made $48 and he mowed 3 lawns. Now I need to go figure out what the independent and dependent variable is so I can figure out what my x and my y is. So I know money is typically dependent on something that happens. So in this case, if Kent mowed 3 lawns, then he earned that $48. If he mowed 1 lawn, he made less than that. If he mowed 5, he earned more. So that tells me that the money is dependent on the lawns. So my lawns would be my x-axis. Another way we could visualize this is to just make a little graph, if graphs are something that's easier for you. If I know I have the 48 and the 3, I could say, okay, if I did 3 lawns, 1, 2, 3, and then 48, that would kind of make sense that if he mows more lawns, he's going to make more money. So that's another way we could also visualize this. So I know just from this that when I have 48 and I have 3, I know this is my x and this is my y. So now I can do k is equal to y over x. Y is 48, x is 3. We can do 48 divided by 3, which would give us 16. And then I need to plug this into my equation. Y is equal to k is 16, x. And that would be my equation. However, I'm still not done. I need to go and take these values. So we need the money earned is E. Money here is talking with Y. To the number of lawns mows, which is M, that's also X. X was our lawns mowed, so I know that's X. So I really have E is equal to 16M. The amount earned is equal to $16 per yard that he mows. So go ahead and pause your video and work on the one on the right. And we should have got E is equal to 17M, meaning he's charging $17 per yard that he mows. So guys, remember when you're working through this on your independent practice, if you have questions, come back and ask us, join our tutorial time. Make sure you're taking responsibility for your own learning. Really show your work when you can, do your best, and ask us any more questions that you have. So thank you guys for watching this. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.